everybody, thanks for coming to check out today's video. I am making another sculpture. I'll be using this pickaxe to make a little Grim Reaper guy. I'm gonna try to save the handle because I don't know, maybe it'll be useful for something down the road, but honestly, if it gives me any trouble, I'm just gonna hack off the handle, pop out the little piece, and start building because I just want to build something. So let me show you how I did it.
Well, a couple swings with the hammer didn't work, so let's just cut the head off, toss the handle out of the way, and figure out how I'm gonna get the last piece out of the actual head. Wait, what is this music? I can't use my normal stuff. It's spooky season, so let's switch to something a little more fitting. Okay. There we go. That seems a little bit better. So I tried cutting the top little piece off of the handle remnants, smacked it with a hammer a few times, grabbed a chisel, tried to wedge that in there to try and free it up, and that didn't really work, so I got frustrated and just started smacking it on the table, which also didn't work. So we're gonna have to move on to another option, and I'm gonna grab a drill bit and just drill tons of holes in the top of it to try and loosen it up so I can actually break this thing loose. And when that still didn't work, I pulled the chisel back out to try and pry the piece away from the actual edges of the head. Eventually, finally got enough material out. And look at that! Look at, you see it? You see what I just saw? It popped out. What a pain. I was really hoping this would be easy, but it wasn't. So I whipped it on the ground, and now we're actually going to start the real part of this build. So the first step in getting this ready, I gotta cut the blade off so my Grim Reaper doesn't end up with some giant punk mohawk, which, well, in hindsight, that might actually have looked kind of cool, but not really the vibe I'm going for on this build. So I cut this off so we can start shaping the actual, top of his head. And I am gonna actually save this piece because I'll definitely use it on something later. I didn't want to just leave the back of his head open and exposed, so I grabbed a piece of flat stock, traced the inside of his head on it, cut it out, and roughly shaped it just so it would fit. And I'm going to tap it into place with the hammer. Then I'm going to weld it in so it doesn't go anywhere. With the back of the head done, I cleaned off some of the coating that they have on there so I can weld a chunk of scrap in front of where I cut the blade off, because otherwise it would just drop down suddenly. So I put that piece of scrap there, put a bunch of passes over it. Now I can grind it smooth and, round, so the head has a nice consistent taper down to the front. And this is it. Right after I finish up this moment, it happens. The biggest mistake I've made so far.
So this is actually the point where I decided that I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make all of my component pieces, the arms, the scythe, and I actually threw in a couple tombstones just to make it look, a little more spooky. And I made all of those individual components, and I planned on showing you how I put it all together at the very end after I got all of the meticulous little details for each part done. But I actually made the biggest mistake that I have made, well, so far on any one of my videos. And when I sat down and got ready to put the entire thing together, apparently I didn't hit record. So I lost all of it except for the hands. Luckily, I stopped in time to realize that I didn't have the camera recording. And honestly, I put a lot of time and effort and a little bit of money to do this project, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I didn't want to just scrap the whole project because, and I put some effort into this one, and I'm really happy with it. So unfortunately, I won't have the majority of actually assembling everything together, but I do still have footage of making the little hands. And of course, after I get it all cleaned up and painted and whatnot, I'm going to give you, as I always or should always do, some of that sweet B roll. But I know it's kind of a letdown for those who enjoy watching every step to the process. But honestly, most people just fast forward to the end of my video to see the final result. So those people will be happy this time. So let me show you how the rest of this build went, and I'll show you everything said and done at the end. My bad.
So we return to our regular scheduled programming well into the build. As you can see, I already put the arms, the scythe, the tombstones on. The arms, blade, and tombstones are all made out of 1/4 inch by 2 flat stock, which I used a cutoff wheel to grind the profiles, and then a hard wheel and a sanding disc to shape all of it. Took me like 2 hours to put all of it together, so I didn't want to just give up on this one, as you can obviously see. So to make the little hands, I used some large flat washers, cut out 2 chunks for the palm, and then I used some 1/4 inch rod to make his fingers. And because I felt like I, should give a little bit more to this video, I am actually drilling a hole in the back of his head, and I will be threading through a bunch of lights. So once it's all painted and done, I'll have a little light switch on the back of this guy, and his face will light up. I thought it was a nice little touch, and honestly, I wanted to throw a little bit more in this for you guys, since kind of missed out on, most of the building. But after I finish fishing all of this stranded lights through this guy's head, I'm finally done, and I can show you guys some sweet B-roll. subscribe.